Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I want to welcome you at Green Action House. This is the headquarters of the United Green Movement Party, UGM. My name is Kato Wambua, the Co-Secretary General of the United Green Movement Party. We are here with the Honorable David Maraga, our 2027 presidential candidate, and also Chief Justice Emeritus. We are also accompanied with a couple of our aspirants. To my left, we have an aspirant for Embakasi North, and on my right-hand side, we have an aspirant for Mombasa Senator. Today, we want to address you regarding the goings-on that you all saw over the weekend, regarding the need to end political violence. And I want to just welcome our presidential candidate to speak to you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming. The violence we witnessed over the past weekend in Homa Bay is not an ordinary acceptable feature of political competition. It is a grave warning to the Kenyans of what we are in for and what we should expect if the intolerance, organized political violence, partisan policing, and immunity are allowed to take root, and the country will become ungovernable. In my view, all this is happening because of the state capture of the National Police Service. I condole with the families of the 4 deceased persons, and including a police officer and those about 50 who were injured. We want to wish those who were injured quick recovery. Those responsible for this must be held accountable. We cannot have this continue. I have here a letter that I have written to President Ruto. And rather than speak to it, let me just read it. Here it is. It will be delivered to his office. Let me just read it. It's a short one, and I will give you copies. It is addressed to Dr. William Ruto, EGH, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Office of the President, Harambee House, Nairobi. The title of the letter is Demand for Release of the Police Reform Task Force Report. The letter reads, a reading of Articles 332, 339, 344, 345 of the Constitution and Sections 8 and 8A of the National Police Service Act makes it quite clear that the National Police Service is and should be an independent national security organ that should not be directed by anybody, including Your Excellency, on the discharge of its mandate. Contrary to these express provisions, we have witnessed organized political violence, goonism, and partisan policing in Homa Bay, Keumbu, Olkalau, as well as acts of violence in churches in Kisumu, Nairobi, and Witima, among others, under your clear watch, direction, and for your benefit. This is a road the country has traveled before at terrible expense. It must not travel it again. This, in my view, is all as a result of the state capture of the National Police Service. I had the privilege, as you recall, of leading the National Task Force on Police Reforms, a comprehensive report of which we submitted to you on 16th November 2023. As you are aware, among the recommendations we made in that report is one requiring you to take appropriate action to restore the independence of the National Police Service and end the systemic police brutality and impunity. For now, nearly 3 years, you have failed to implement the said recommendation and restore the independence of the National Police Service. In the circumstances, in view of the fact that the report was secured at public expense and in line with Article 35 of the Constitution, I demand that you immediately release and publish the complete and unedited task force report within 7 days, failing which I will release it myself to the public so that the Kenyan people will know why the police are only serving one person in the country. Thank you very much. That's the letter. I have copies here. Ladies and gentlemen, you can have copies if you wish. That's all. Any questions? No questions. Thank you very much. Sorry? Yes, Edward.
Do you believe that if the recommendations of that task force were implemented, you would not have had what has happened recently?
No. If the recommendations in that report were implemented, we would not have what happened in Homa Bay and other parts of the country. Yes.
My question is just to what happened in Homa Bay. Our fellow journalists were hurt, equipment destroyed. I don't know what you have to say about that and how we should cover you politicians and regard to our safety as well, even when we cover your events. And again, as we say, there's a capture of the police service. We want to include this, what happened to the Honorable John Kabushia and what is happening in regard to what the Honorable Peter Kaluma Mwekonde said and his kind of spot.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was appalled, like all the other Kenyans, with that organized police violence and goonism. That ended, as I have said, in the death of 4 people, including a police officer, and the injury of more than 50, including journalists, who I understand even their equipment were destroyed or captured. It is very, very sad. That's not the kind of situation you should have in a campaign rally. The journalists, what did they do? Why did they deserve that? Forget about you can say something else about the politicians, but what did the journalists do? Only to cover the event and tell the public what is happening. We cannot have that kind of situation. As I have said, this is organized political violence intended to benefit President Ruto. Ask yourself, why have there not been any violence acts in his meetings. So this is organized violence intended to benefit him, and we cannot have that. So if the police wanted to stop this violence, I can assure you, if they had been given the freedom, they would have stopped this violence. You remember when we went to, on the 25th of June, when we went to the streets of Nairobi to commemorate the what? The Gen Z protest. Do you remember the number of police officers in the streets? And yet there was really nothing going to be, there was no violence that was expected. If the police were given a free hand to stop this, it could not even require the Kanja himself. It would have just required the OCBD Omabe to call for reinforcement from the nearby counties, and nothing would have happened. The rallies would have been peaceful, and everything would have continued very peacefully. So it is the lack of will to stop that, and instead it is organized violence. Yes. Mm. I have not seen what they have said, but what the position is, anybody who is associated with violence and Gunism deserves condemnation, and action should be taken against him or her.
Last question.
Yes.
Justice, I personally believe that also the judiciary has played Kenya. Because in most cases, when these suspects are taken to court, they are always left scot-free. And so even the justice system is not, as much as it pretends to be independent, is still being captured by the state. And so it's that whole system that is encouraging what is happening. And so we need people like you who are editors to start speaking to your former colleagues so that we can bring justice to the people. Because whenever some of these high-level goons are taken to court, some they are released back. So it's a whole systematic failure of that system.
Yes. Well, I don't want to disagree with you. It is a systemic failure of the justice sectors in this country. It's not only the judiciary to blame, because the judiciary acts on evidence. If there is evidence and the judiciary releases anybody, that is a very serious issue, and that should also be pointed out very seriously. So in some cases, please read the judgments, and you can yourself make up your mind whether or not there was sufficient evidence to convict somebody, or the judiciary has failed to do its duty. If there is no evidence, you know very well that the judiciary cannot convict if there is no proper evidence.